Yeah, he can give an introduction, that's for sure. So, Jeff, shall we trade AARP cards? Looks like we're the elderly group that's here. So, it's my honor to do this for multiple reasons, but probably and most importantly is I get to follow my friend and the true leader here is Jeff Ponsky. He's really done some amazing, amazing things. So, yeah, I retired about 2.5, 3 years ago. I actually live in Snowmass Village, Colorado, so it's not too far for me to get there, but which is a whole wonderful thing for sure. All right, let's green button. All right, so I do have a few disclosures, especially Sager Surgical Solutions, which is what I'm really going to be a good part of this talk about. How I came up with it and what we do, but Gordian we're at 0, so that's 0, and another one which right now is still a 0, but we're hopeful on that. And I've learned that with Sager Surgical, I have 50% of 0. Still 0, isn't it? No. But we're working on it. Okay, so I get to talk about investing in the future and what a surgeon can do. It's really, really, really quite simple if you listen to the first part of this lecture. It's all about you who are sitting here in the audience. And why do I say that? Well, there's not a single person in this room who doesn't know better than you what the procedure is that you're doing. So you have to think about that. If you want to innovate, you have to think about what you can do to either make it better. You can think about how it can be worse, but most people won't go that route. But you can certainly think about what makes it more difficult. And if you're innovating and you're thinking about these things, you should come into some reasonable idea of how you can make that better. And it's not too difficult. The first talk that you got here was really, really important. Don't say that, oh, I have this great idea, and tell the person who's sitting next to you, or the scrub assistant who is around you listening to you, or the nurse, whatever, what that idea is. Make sure you write that idea, timeline it, and make sure it is written somewhere before you show it to the public, because you just shoot yourself in the foot. That's really probably, I think, the most important thing I've heard so far today, including what I'm going to tell you. So how to make the procedure easier. So when you're doing these things that are either easy or hard, or thinking about why isn't someone else doing it that way, look at the program where you're working, whether it be private, whether it be in the university. It really doesn't make any difference. And you know that you know what you're doing better than anybody. And you look at the other people and say, why aren't they doing it like I do it? Or why aren't they getting as good of results as I'm getting? And then you need, if you want to innovate, come up with an idea of how to make that better, make it easy for them. And that's how the ideas get generated. And it happened to me, and I'll explain that. The other thing I heard about, I think it was Nova, was talking about Duke with the endostitch. When I was chief of the division of laparoscopic surgery at Sinai, I didn't allow the instrument to be in the operating room because it detracted from someone using 2 hands. And it detracted from learning how to suture and knot tie, which I always felt was, if you're going to really do complex stuff, you better learn how to suture and knot tie, because that's what's going to get you out of trouble. If you make a hole in something, or something's bleeding, or whatever it is, you eventually will have to suture. And that made you use 1 hand as opposed to using 2 hands. So it's wise. But the idea is that if you're being taught, be critical. I mean, be complimentary of, obviously, of the mentor, for sure. But be critical, because that person also has some biases. And that person can detract from you trying to innovate. Not on purpose, but we tend to believe people who are teaching us, know what they're doing, and by and large they do. But there's always another way to look at something, and that other way of looking at something can be very, very important from your perspective of innovating and coming up with an idea and investing in your future and my children's future. So be critical. You also need to know or think whether or not it's the technique that needs to be improved, or can it be improved with the device? Obviously from an innovation point of view, or from trying to monetize something, device would be better, but that's really not so important. Think about it that way. And once you've come up with the idea, if you have a partner, run it by your partner. Think about it. Make sure that it really makes sense of what to do. You have to really believe in what you're doing, because if you don't believe in it, it will never, ever happen. Sort of like putting. You know, if you think the putt's not going to go in the hole, that's what, it won't go in the hole. Same thing. Really the same thing from an innovation point of view. So once you come up with your idea or a device, usually a device, you're going to need to protect it. But you've already heard about that. It's going to cost you some money. That's for sure. You're going to need some advice. You're going to need legal advice. That's for sure. Once again, it's going to cost you money. It makes a difference, and you've already heard this before, whether or not you're in the university, you're in private practice, big difference. Private practice, especially, you're independent. That's the easiest way to get this developed. But you got to be a little bit careful about the universities. I was in a university. So this device that I'm going to talk about in a second, I showed to the university. Now, of course, the university at that time, first of all, the device as it exists today is in no way, manner, shape, or fashion anyway looks like or related to what I came up with originally, but the university owned my idea. And the university gave me back my idea, assuming that I wanted to spend my own money to develop it. You know, and as it turns out, that was a very good thing. But just be careful and make sure you know who owns what and what their responsibility to you will be after whatever it is you develop gets developed. Know about it. So I'll tell you my own little story, and you'll understand how it happened. So I'm sure, well, most people would know Ariel de Paula. Very innovative, very technically adept surgical endoscopist in Brazil. And he came up with the idea of how to do a ileal interposition for treatment of type 2 diabetes as the primary treatment in non-obese patients. And it involved part of the stomach being removed and an ileal interposition. So an ileal interposition requires 3 sutures. He does this all laparoscopically. Developed it laparoscopically. How good was he? He was doing portal cable shunts in 1990, I want to say 95, laparoscopically. The guy is technically really adept. So for him to make an anastomosis on the intestine, not a big deal. Very quick. Very, very quick. But I'm looking at, and he invited me to go down there to see what he was doing. So I went down to look, and I'm seeing him do this procedure, and I'm still impressed by how quick he really is now when he knows what he's doing. And I'm saying, there is not a chance in hell that any general surgeon, or most general surgeons, or 99% of general surgeons are going to be doing 3 intracorporeal anastomoses and expect to make a living, because it'll be all day. This guy can do 3 of them during the day, but most of us it would take forever. So that was looking at that, and I said, but you know, intestinal anastomoses, which I like to do, and I always thought I was pretty good at doing them, suturing. So I came up with an idea of a clip. And this clip, the IP behind the clip was that you could sew the clip without sewing, and put the intestine together without sewing the clip in. Think about it. It's not so easy. When you put something on the intestine, you start making holes and following thing. Anyway, so I got a patent on that. I had to give the idea to the university. The university turned it down, so I developed it myself. The patent, I must tell you, to get it done, and with the engineering firm that we had to produce it, was about $250,000. So not a cheap deal, that's for sure. But anyway, I got that patent in 2013. I sold it to a company. I'm not going to mention names, are not important. And a year later, they also thought it was something that we could work on and, and develop a relationship to make it happen. It got returned to me in 2016 for a variety of different reasons. Mainly it's not important. There were a variety of different reasons, because if I tell you the reasons, probably half the people know what the company. So it got returned to me, and returning it to me, I did not have to give any money back. I thought that was very, very generous of the company, to say the least. But what I had to do, there were some laws that were required that made them not just be able to give it back to me without the company being in jeopardy. So I had to give them X%. If I ever developed this thing, then X% of it out of my profit after my initial expenses would go back to the company, which I thought was eminently fair. And after that, so it's a winding story, but it'll give you the idea that you just got to believe in something and don't give up on it. Trendlines is an Israeli incubator, and they do medical devices and agricultural things, and they've been very successful. So I have a business partner, actually he's an ex-patient of mine, who had a relationship with that, and they presented this idea, the actual device, an end idea, to them, and they liked it, and I had to go through the Israeli Innovations Authority, which is this serious high-tech business conglomerate out of Israel that uses Israeli money to promote companies and develop companies within Israel. The only proviso is that you must have engineering out of Israel, and the product has to be produced out of Israel. Once that happens, then it can be sold, and the exit strategy is no problem whatsoever. So I was approved, the concept was approved, and from this thing that originated into a clip, which was a clip originally, developed into an intracorporeal stapling device. Totally not like a clip, for sure. And that's where the Sager surgical solutions come from. Sager is actually Hebrew for closure. I didn't know that, but that's what it is. And in 2017, we were on the cusp of having enough money to do clinical trials, not clinical trials yet, to develop. We had a very advanced prototype. We were on the cusp of developing the commercial product. We had already fixed our design, and then COVID hit, and the money went gone, absolutely zero. So it's been dormant now until recently, which is why you still have to believe in your company. And we got now some investment from an outside company, which outside company, that's so important. And because of that, we now will be able to produce the commercial device and do first in humans after we get FDA approval. So we have enough monies to do that. And I must tell you that we were able to do this without me having to get diluted yet. So there's no equity loss yet, but we did give up manufacturing and production rights in this foreign country. Actually, it would be three countries. Big countries, but that's besides the point. At least we got a chance to move. There have been other people, I won't go through anyway, but he's also did very similar, but it's a good example of a surgeon innovating and to be able to impact the future. So, can we run the video, or can I run the video? How do I do that? What do I got to push? Hit the green button. Okay, so, oops, sorry. Going back, I'm looking back. Before I do it, you're going to see, this is pig intestine. There's been a resection of the small bowel. You'll probably recognize the device a little bit. This is what happens when a patent expires. This is a Medtronic, I keep calling it Covidian. Actually, I'm still calling it US Surgical, but that just shows you my age. So this is a Medtronic device. 3 of the rows of staples have been removed. And in that, where those 3 rows of staples have been removed, is a slot, which you'll see something come out of that. And the blade and the other 3 rows are just like a GIA stapling device. I'm trying to get, no, I wanted to start the video. I just, have to do the mouse? Maybe that's, oh, there you go. Yeah. Right hand. Okay, so you'll see there's a thing in the slot where the other three staples are, and this rotates out. There's a lot, we'll talk about the IP in a second. There are a lot of, there's a lot of IP in this thing. There's these two hooks, they've been modified already. This is actually the first time I ever used this thing on a pig. So you see it slides back down together, and it's purposely designed to fit the common opening. And this is a side-to-side anastomosis, just like you would do ordinarily. Whether you do it isoperistaltic or antiperistaltic is not important. And these hooks will fit in. The person who's helping me is an ex-fellow of mine, and he actually knows too much. So he keeps getting in my way, and I have to tell him, leave me alone, you know. But you get the idea. The hooks have been redesigned so there's a little ball on the end and with an angle so it holds it better. So they hold. And there's IP, and you're going to see these hooks slide apart, but they slide apart that they can't overstretch the opening. So it's a safety feature. And that bow then rotates back into the slot. It will not, the safety features, it will not fire unless it's slotted. Safety feature. So it's a novel way of completing the intracorporeal anastomosis and closing the common enterotomy. Then it just closes, and you fire the blade. And the advantage of that, you see there's no extra tissue that's removed, because if you use a GIA, you have to remove extra tissue. And most people don't like to do that. I wouldn't do that. And here's your closure of the common enterotomy without removing 3 millimeters of normal bow. And so that's what the device morphed into after the clip. So what can I tell you? You need to think about what you're doing and why you're doing it, and how you can make it better for the person next door, and how you can, people who are doing it a little bit different, you protect yourself. Listen to what you heard on the first part of this talk, very, very important. Get some advice, be prepared to pay some money. It will not be for free. But if you really, truly believe in what you're doing, and you really think you got a good idea, it's going to be worth it. And that's how you, all of you, will impact the future. Thank you.